I turned 31 last month, and finally understood why my childhood felt like a punishment I never earned. Every summer, from the time I was 9 until I was 15, my parents sent me and my two brothers to stay with my Uncle Dale for 8 weeks. Dale lived 4 hours away in a town so small it didn't have a stoplight. My parents called it learning discipline. They said city kids got soft. They said we needed structure. What they didn't tell us was that Dale charged them for it. I only found that out 2 years ago, when my older brother Marcus got drunk at a family barbecue and let it slip. Our parents paid Dale $2,000 each summer to take us. 3 kids, 8 weeks, $2,000. They framed it as investment. Dale framed it as a favor. Dale was a former army man who believed children were problems to be managed. The first morning I arrived at 9 years old, he woke me at 5 and handed me a list. Chores, 12 items. He stood over me while I read it and said, "You finish before breakfast or you don't eat." I thought he was joking. He wasn't. We weren't allowed to contact our parents for the first few weeks. Dale called it a transition period. He told us it helped us adjust. What it actually did was make sure we couldn't report anything before we'd been broken in enough to normalize it. The work was relentless. We cleared brush, painted fences, hauled firewood, dug irrigation channels for his vegetable garden. Dale sold that produce at a farmer's market every Saturday. We were not paid. We were told we were building character. When we made mistakes, and we always made mistakes, Dale had a system. No dinner, early bedtime, isolation in a back room he called the thinking room, which was a converted pantry with no window and a single overhead bulb. I spent 11 nights in that room over 6 summers. I kept count. Here's what I didn't understand as a child. My parents knew. They had to. Marcus came home with rope burns on his wrists from being tied to a fence post after he tried to run away at age 12. My mother put antibacterial cream on his wrists and told him Dale was old-fashioned. My father said Marcus had provoked it. When I was 13, I finally told my mother what was happening. I sat at the kitchen table in October, 4 months after coming home, and I laid it out carefully. The pantry, the missed meals, the unpaid labor in the summer heat. She listened without interrupting, which felt like progress. Then she said, "You have to understand, Dale had a hard life." I didn't say another word about it for 16 years. What broke it open was my youngest brother Theo. He's 24 now, and last year he started therapy for anxiety so severe he'd stopped leaving his apartment. His therapist asked about his childhood. Theo told her about Dale's summers. She asked if he'd ever reported it. He hadn't. None of us had. She told him what we'd experienced had a name. She said the isolation tactic, the labor, the controlled communication, the physical restraint. These weren't discipline methods. They were abuse. She said what our parents did, knowingly sending us back summer after summer, knowingly paying for access, had another name too. Theo called me that night and read me the legal definitions from the notes she'd given him. My hands were shaking by the end. Dale died in 2019. That door is closed, but my parents are alive. They still talk about those summers warmly. Last Thanksgiving, my father said, "Dale made you boys tough." He was smiling when he said it. My mother nodded. I set down my fork and looked at them both for a long moment. I thought about 9-year-old me in that pantry with the single bulb. I thought about Marcus's wrists. I thought about Theo not leaving his apartment. I said, "I need you both to understand something. What you paid Dale to do to us had a legal name. I know it now. And so does Theo's therapist. And so does Marcus." The table went very quiet. I haven't been back since. Neither have my brothers, too. I turned 31 last month, and for the first time in my life, I told someone outside my family what happened to me when I was 9. My parents had a rule. Every Sunday we drove to a different church, not to worship, but to scout. That's the word my father used. Scout. He was looking for elderly parishioners who lived alone, widows mostly, people whose families had stopped showing up. He'd introduce himself as a contractor, offer to help with repairs, inspect their homes. Then he'd come back Monday and do the work, overcharging by 4 or 5 times the going rate, billing for materials he never used, filing invoices for hours he never worked. He kept 2 sets of records, one for the clients, one for himself. We thought it was normal. We helped sometimes, carrying tools, handing him things, smiling at the old women who offered us cookies. My mother called it family enterprise. She said learning to work early built character. She said most.